Cruising around Lake Michigan in his small boat, Alex Firoff fell in love with the Indiana dunes and the views from the town of Pines. Initially, he planned to buy a vacation home, a small place to use as a getaway from the full-time residents in nearby Chicago.
Of course not those houses on the $1 million range. And this is what I find. This land has been sitting for 15 years, waiting, nobody live here. It's been wild, but I like it, I fell in love, and I said okay.
He moved his wife and 2 children there permanently. The house, more than 100 years old, sat on a former farm, overgrown with weeds and overrun with wild animals. The previous owner had died more than a decade earlier. Firoff assured his wife, a cancer survivor, that he would remodel the property and turn it into their dream home, complete with a vegetable garden that would provide produce for their family and for the Firoff's organic food store in Chicago.
This one, when I find it, has been perfect, ideal. Uphill, all that black dirt, water right there. I have my own pond, all my garden around the pond. That's the perfect for a farmer.
But Firoff, who lived near Chernobyl in the Ukraine when a nuclear reactor there exploded in 1986, wasn't aware of a crucial fact. Coal ash from a nearby power plant had been used as fill all around the farm in the 70s, contaminating the soil with arsenic, making it potentially dangerous to eat food grown there. Only after the property sale was finalized did Firoff discover what no one had told him. Now, he is unable to begin renovations until the soil has been remediated by the EPA, a process that's been going on for the past 3 years.
Try escape from all those dirty area and from contaminated site, and I try to get a new family and put it the little family trees, and I find a beautiful place, and I'm thinking that's the one. And now it's soil contaminated and water contaminated. I'm like, why? I try running all the way from another side of the world up here, and this is what I get.
Firoff grew up 80 kilometers from Chernobyl and remembers the day of the nuclear power disaster there in 1986.
I remember that Sunday, I believe so. Everybody started screaming, we came out, and everybody thinking it's end of the world because it started like sunny Sunday, beautiful, and get dark, like a night's coming from 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, something like that day.
Firoff joined the Russian army as a teenager and then joined the Special Police Force, where he guarded the perimeter of Chernobyl for 5 years, 30 kilometers from the explosion site.
We work in 50 days. I've been on a duty, like 24/7. You on it. You live in there, you work in there. You're not going home. And then 15 days you stay home. They check us all the time, and if we get big radiation, they send us to a little clinic for clean ourselves. Just the government pay for everything. And then when they test you again, it's like a chair, kind of like Japanese. After the Japanese supplied a lot of stuff. And they put you on the chair, zoink, good, go back to Chernobyl.
He left for the US in 1999, working several jobs from construction to truck driving. Originally, he was going to work hard, save money, and return home, but he met his wife Lucy and began a life in Chicago. While searching for property in Pines, Firoff decided to look for a home that had some land where he could grow organic produce for his family and the store.
I already named it this. It's an officially open Old Acre Farm, because when I did the research, this has been old farm, and they're producing a lot of produce for a state prison. And this is why I just rename it, and I open it officially, and I name it Old Acre Farm. Yeah, and this is the whole idea, growing the organic produce and selling in my organic store. But right now, nobody give me a clear answer if I can grow in here organic stuff and if it's healthy or not because of this arsenic. Yeah.
Once Firoff moved in, he noticed NIPSCO and EPA signs announcing an excavation posted in his neighbor's yard. What he discovered would turn his dream upside down. For decades, the Northern Indiana Public Service Company deposited more than 1 million tons of potentially lethal sludge known as coal ash from its Michigan City generating station in the Yard 520 landfill located in the town of Pines. The landfill sits on top of the town's aquifer, for many years the residents' only source for drinking water. Coal ash is the waste product that is left over from burning coal for electricity.
Unfortunately, coal has trace bits of heavy metals in it. And when you burn the coal, you burn off most of the carbon, so those trace metals wind up in higher concentration in the ash that's left over.
These metals include lead, mercury, boron, molybdenum, cadmium, and arsenic, all of which can be hazardous to human health. Indiana currently has more coal ash waste than any other state at an estimated 60 million cubic yards. That's 86 football fields. In 2000, a resident asked the Indiana Department of Environmental Management to test her sulfurous well water. The test would reveal the water was contaminated with benzene, a known carcinogen. That discovery prompted a lengthy and contentious process between the residents, NIPSCO, and the Environmental Protection Agency as to who was responsible for the contamination and subsequent cleanup. In 2002, the EPA named the Yard 520 site a Superfund Alternative Approach site. Under the settlement agreement, NIPSCO was ordered to provide alternative drinking water for the residents, oversee the cleanup, and pay for any associated costs. Most homes in the remediation area, including the property Firoff bought, were connected to municipal water as a result of the cleanup. Residents then discovered a second problem. Coal ash had been used in the 1970s as fill in road construction, on low-lying properties, and even in the town's playground. An independent test found radiation in coal ash fill around the community. The EPA disputed the findings. Its own testing found no radiation, but did find higher than normal levels of arsenic. It began removing arsenic from the soil and pines in 2016. The discrepancy in the test results would prove crucial to the overall timing of the cleanup and Firoff's property. This summer, the EPA began excavating his property 3 years after Firoff's purchase. During that time, his plans have been in limbo. The excavation prevents him from getting the necessary permits to start construction. Until the land is remediated, he can't legally do anything. Meanwhile, the family has been living in a trailer on the other side of the property.
When they start excavating the soil and everything, of course I'm not give up. I'm still working on it. I'm reading more and more and more. This is what I find out from some resources. Then ash, it's like a tea in a hot water. You put a bag and it's leaching and they go in there. And this is where I get more coaches to my pond and I start asking more questions.
When the soil removal and excavation began, Firoff noticed his pond water was starting to turn a darker brown color. Just as the more intensive digging began, it rained for several days, causing a large amount of the water to collect in the contaminated area. Firoff became concerned that the water from the excavation was running into the pond.
Then the guys start pumping this water to just, keep it to somehow keep working. They start pumping this water with the gas pump on the up corner of my property, which is the highest level of arsenic, and they know that. On the top of that pile, through the bag, kind of filtrated, but that water is just sinking back through the whole landfill, through my clean landfill, back to my pond.
He took a video of the pumping and sent the file to NIPSCO, EPA, and to IDEM. He didn't hear back. He took samples of the pond water, and he asked the EPA and NIPSCO to also take samples and test them, which they did. They said the results were not over the limit for any contaminants. Firoff sent the additional samples to a private lab for testing. There were some areas to the east of Firoff's pond, outside the excavation area, that did have arsenic levels higher than the state of Indiana considers safe for residential areas.
I understand. I want him to finish this one much as possible, dig it and move it away from my property, but I still have a question for the rest of my property. My water, my pond, I use it for my garden, and now I'm concerned about even the soil around my pond. I don't know the answer. I don't know the right answer, and nobody answered it to me. They try telling me, you're okay, you're good, you're fine. And we don't have no water issue here. That's the soil, that's not the water. Water is not the problem in this town.
Regulation changes proposed recently by the EPA might have a negative impact on Firoff's quest to have his property decontaminated. Firoff said he will continue to fight and would just like his entire property to be cleaned for the safety of his family.
My animal, my garden, and me, my kids, we're eating here, we're working on this land. What happened? And I still don't have an answer to this question. I don't want to sell this property. No, I like it, I love it, but I want to just clean right. I will never stop till we not get it done the right way. I want to just get it the right way done.